Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me and my very special guest. She is one of Broadway's loveliest leading ladies. You know her from such musicals as South Pacific, Anything Goes, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, Bonnie and Clyde, and Bandstand, and of course from her Hallmark Channel films. And now this coming Sunday night, February 14th, which is Valentine's Day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, she kicks off her brand new concert with Seth as part of his Seth concert series that streams right here at BroadwayWorld. And it is always a pleasure to catch up with her every time she drops by. Please say hello to my dear friend, Laura Osnes.
Hi, Richard. Hi, everybody. Thank you
So
so
we have
much
to
for
tell her.
having me.
We have to tell everybody, like I said, this is the new now of setting up, StreamYard and all of this stuff. And I know you're all set up for Sunday night's concert with all of your sound into your computer. And then, it's crazy, right?
It's crazy. We had our little sound check thing yesterday, and it's absolutely incredible the way Seth and his team have figured out how to do live piano playing while I'm singing at a completely different location. Because as we know with Zoom, there's a delay, and with all of these streaming platforms. So I have like 8 new programs on my computer that they've downloaded, and we have a microphone, and it's all hooked up. And then I go to do this Zoom call today with you for this interview, and like the sound is not working because that cord is not supposed to be with this mic or the computer mic. It's hooked up to that. So anyway, I'm doing this on my phone, and I'm so sorry for the delay, everybody, but hey, here we are. We're figuring it out, and I'm again so thrilled to be here and thrilled for the concert this weekend.
I love this. You put this together in like 4 minutes of saying, "Oh, I can't do it on my computer. Let's move to the phone." And I saw your husband Nate there for a minute saying, "Let's see what we can do."
Yes, he is my technical advisor and troubleshooter.
All right, well, let's talk about this first because not only I remember when you started to kick off the R&H Goes Pop, I think Jeremy Jordan was your first guest, right? And I think, we were all testing out like video and sound. I know the sync was off, but it was one of the most adorable things I've ever seen. Look how far we've come.
How far indeed. It is remarkable. I haven't gone back to watch that episode in a while because I know like the sound is horrible and the video quality is horrible. Even in 10 months, technology has been able to advance so far so that we can do this in real time with a clear picture, and you're plugged into the Ethernet now, which is giving you a stronger connection. So hey, we're figuring it out. It's good.
I had Kelly O'Hara here a few weeks ago when she was doing Seth's concert, and she said, "Richard, I kicked off the series originally." And she said it was like an old movie. It was like nothing was in sync. And she was like, "We didn't really care because it was at the beginning. We were all just sort of putting this all together. It was like Judy and Mickey putting on a show." And she was like, it would eventually catch up. Or we said, "Let's start again." But it was like, it was what it was.
Exactly. I think everybody at the beginning, as we've said, it was just so grateful to be getting any sort of content at all. And even though the quality wasn't good, the fact that it was happening at all was miraculous. So
yeah, totally.
we appreciated it. Now our standards have been raised a little bit. We need more.
Everyone stands like, what? Don't they have a ring light? Don't they have a better mic? Why are they not in sync? I'm like, it's the world of the internet. So it is what it is. But Seth has got this all together. I know you got the box, whatever gets delivered with the microphones and cables, and download this, which is really exciting. Now, you have visited with me a few times during the pandemic. Now, the last time I saw you was right before the holidays. What were the holidays like for you two?
Oh, are you ready for this? Okay.
Yeah.
So my husband and I have a house in Connecticut where we've been staying, most of the time. And there was a huge snowstorm the night of Christmas Eve into Christmas morning. And we actually celebrated Christmas Eve. It was just me and Nate and our friend Colleen, who has been staying with us most of the pandemic. She gave up her apartment in New York. So she's kind of become our housemate during this time. And we love her. It's great. But we had our big meal Christmas Eve night. And at about 2 a.m. on Christmas morning, the power went out at our place because of the snow. And we spent Christmas freezing in our house, eating ramen noodles because Nate went out to the grill outside, and because everything is electric in our house, the oven is electric, the stove, even the toilets are electric. So we had to bring up water from the lake. Thankfully, it wasn't frozen yet to like flush our toilets. The power was out for like 40 hours. So it came back like the evening of the 26th. But it was a very humble Christmas without heat or electricity, and we were just grateful to have the roof over our heads and be safe and together.
That is crazy. It's like being in the wilderness, like sending Nate down to the pond or whatever to get water to bring back.
Absolutely. And like grilling, the only way we were able to heat hot water was on the grill. So Nate like heated up water in the grill, and we made tea to help keep us warm and soup, and we boiled a couple eggs. It was, we made the most of it.
I love it. Ramen noodles and eggs for Christmas Day.
Exactly.
But I'm sure it's going to be a holiday you're never going to forget. Seriously.
Totally. I mean, Christmas and COVID, I think everybody's holiday was a lot different this year, whether you were able to go home or have to stay with your small bubble or not travel. No one was recommending travel. So we decided we weren't going to go home to visit our families in Minnesota and just have a lovely Christmas here that turned into something we weren't expecting, but still in the midst of it all, just so grateful. So grateful.
Have the days gotten a little easier? Because like I said, we've spoken a lot during this. The early part was really rough for everybody. And then, there's a light at the end of the tunnel now with like the vaccines, and there's rumors and rumblings that, live performances are going to start coming back in the New York area, which is so great. I mean, are the days, are they brighter for you two now?
Good question. I think it still goes in seasons and slews for me. Of all things, I got to do a concert in Florida just this past week. And I feel like we've been kind of, just getting really personal. We've been kind of like nestled and safe in this, tucked away in this like place in Connecticut, and going back out into the world again for a week, flying down to Florida. It was like all of the stress and pressure of the world kind of came back for that week. And part of me was like, oh my gosh, I'm not used to that. Like I've gotten used to this way of life that I want the world to open back up, and I want us to do what we do again. But I think it's going to be a bit of a transition. It was like we had delayed flights because of snow. And I was like, I have to get down there. COVID tested. My dog had to go to the dog hospital while we were gone. My grandma is sick. And like, we were dealing with like I felt like all the weight of the world came kind of crashing back on us again after things had been kind of so peaceful and like totally safe and fine here. So to be honest, I feel like there's still rough patches here and there, but we always charge on. We've been resilient through this whole thing. And I feel like even in seasons of hardship or peace and simplicity, there's lessons to be learned.
Yeah. It's interesting because was there, like, you were in Sarasota, was it like only a certain amount of people they could have in the audience?
Yeah, they sold, it was still about 300 tickets. I did 2 nights. And it was 300 tickets each outside, which was so special. It was so, so beautiful to have a real audience again. And I quarantined in Florida for a few days before getting tested. And it felt very safe. And it was fun to go back to Oslo. That's where we did Bonnie and Clyde out of town. So I had not been back there in 10 years since we did that show there. So it was fun to see the team there and be in Sarasota again.
Did you do your concert by yourself?
Yeah, it was me and my music director, Fred Lassen.
That's great. Was it just you and a piano?
Yep. Me and a piano outside. They have built a beautiful stage and a whole lighting thing outside with the outside of their building is like the backdrop. And it's absolutely beautiful. Go like Google it, like Google their website, because they're just starting to do more content and stuff. And they have a whole season plan to do outside on that stage, especially now that it's getting warmer. So I'm really proud of them for figuring it out.
That's very exciting. Wow, good for you. So, this coming Sunday night, February 14th, Valentine's Day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll be doing your live concert with Seth Rudetsky as part of his Seth concert series. How excited are you?
I'm really excited. I think it's going to be a little, again, new and crazy. This is a whole different experience. I now have like in-ear monitors, and I'm singing to Seth playing to a mic like in my living room. It just feels like so weird, but again, I'm grateful, so grateful for the opportunity to sing. And I think it's going to be a lovely Valentine's Day. I had to ask Nate and be like, babe, this is Valentine's Day night. Like, are you okay with this? And he was like, yeah, it's totally fine. Like, I don't think we were planning to go out anyway. So it'll again, we'll make it memorable. I have performed a lot on Valentine's Days in the past, so we're kind of used to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be fun. And I love Seth. I love what he's doing. And yeah, I think it's gonna be a good time.
So what are some of the songs your fans can expect? What are some of the shows, composers? It's Valentine's Day.
Right. To be honest, I think there's going to be some surprises for me, because I sent Seth like my set list I usually do in my solo show. And then I followed up and I was like, wait, it's Valentine's Day. Like, should we be focusing more on like love songs? And we actually haven't narrowed down an exact set list yet. So that's really fun. But I trust Seth implicitly, and he knows all my stuff. We've done playbill cruises together and some other concerts. And so what I love about working with him is that it's kind of more of this fun, like interview kind of banter concert. It's not like my typical solo show where I do all the talking, tell the stories.
Yeah.
He knows the stories to ask and the questions, and it's kind of, we get to bounce off each other in that way. And then he always leads it so seamlessly into some song from my repertoire. So there will definitely be songs from shows I've done and songs that, I'm known for in that way. Let's see. Some of the other ones I love to do that will likely get sung are I Could Have Danced All Night. I have a beautiful version of Greenfinch and Linnet Bird, Far From the Home I Love, A Born to Entertain, Popular, When Somebody Loved Me. Yeah.
That's I have goosebumps from the top of my head to the bottom of my feet listening to that song list.
Oh gosh, thanks.
Because you never know where Seth might go to. I mean, he'll pull up, he may pull up like The Wizard of Oz when you were like, starting out, and you're like, let's do, maybe you wanted to be Dorothy when you were 3. Let's kick into that or something, right?
How did you know? That was the show that like started my dream. I was like, I want to play Dorothy when I grow up. That was my first show I ever did. I played a Munchkin in The Wizard of Oz, and I remember looking up to Dorothy and being like, I want to do that.
I want to wear the gingham dress, right?
Exactly.
And I want to wear those red shoes.
Totally.
Because you never know where he's going to go. Do you like to sometimes have a free for all in your shows? Like a lot of artists do, and some are like, oh no, I don't know where I like to be prepared.
I do like to be prepared. I'm kind of a perfectionist in that way. And I think if it were up to me, I would decide. But I've worked enough with Seth now to kind of understand the groove that I'm like, okay, we can go along with this. And then again, it's not just me. Like he always knows the direction he wants to go. And I'm okay. I trust him enough to be able to fly by the seat of my pants.
No, I'm sure what a story is of a certain show, you're going to be like, oh, here we go. It's going to be something from that show. And hopefully it's a song that I remember the lyrics of. I forget who I had here a few weeks ago, and they were like, you have to remember all these lyrics again because you normally have your regular show set. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. I haven't sung that in 2 years.
Totally. I have a concert I do called Repertoire Roulette, which I think we've talked about at one point, where I basically put 50 songs in a hat and I let the audience choose. They draw out of a hat. And so for that concert, I've had to kind of get every lyric I've ever known back in my brain. So I'm hoping that I'm prepared for this one.
Okay, so what part of your house has it changed during the course of the pandemic of where you've done self-tapes? Have you done stuff in the closet? I mean, where is your stage for Sunday?
Yeah, great question. I'm currently in the basement, and I have done most of my Zooms and tapes down here because there's bare walls and it's lovely. However, the Ethernet is upstairs on the main level. And so to be plugged into the Ethernet for Sunday's concert, we're going to be upstairs. And I was just trying to figure out the backdrop I needed. I was like, should the fireplace, the white brick by the fireplace, or do we want a corner so that there's some dimension, or that wall's painted, painted a certain color. Do we want a different color? Nate was like, I'll help you set it up. I'm thankful for his visionary photography, videography eye to be able to help create a good backdrop for me. And I was like, should I put up twinkle lights? I'm still envisioning the set, Richard. Tune in on Sunday to find out.
Okay, I can't wait for that. Now, for our audience who may not know, Laura is married to Nathan Johnson, who is like the best photographer. Some of his work is behind me. He did the Bandstand poster for Broadway. He did Bonnie and Clyde and so many other incredible stuff. It's Drift Studios. He's done some of my husband's clients. Your husband is the best. I don't know if he's anywhere. I know he just set you up in there, but it's like, so he's going to be your stage manager and your lighting designer. So you have one there. I mean, that's what he does.
Absolutely. I am eternally grateful. Yeah. Yes. And thank you for saying those sweet things about him.
Everybody loves Nate.
I know. I love him too. Obviously.
But it's like you have him, which is really great because most of these stars I've been talking to, like Richard, it's just me in my home, and I've got to be like, oh, I got to move the mic. Oh, I look terrible. I got to move a light. It's like they said when they go back to the regular business again, they're going to bow before everybody backstage, saying thank you to my dresser, thank you to everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, the people in the audience only really see the people on stage. And even, now we're learning like TV film stuff. I mean, when I made that quarantine musical last year, the Killer Party, it's like you learn to you have to be your own like continuity person. You're doing scenes with people who aren't even there, trying to make sure your eye lines are correct. Lighting design, costume design, hair and makeup. Like we're all having to do all of these things ourselves. And part of it is an exciting, fun challenge. And then some of it is like, oh my gosh, I'm so thankful for all the people who are professionals at this. It takes everybody. It takes a village to make the thing that you see on stage actually happen. There's so many people behind the scenes.
Okay, well, talk about setting up the scenes. You're also offering a very special VIP Soundcheck ticket Sunday night at 5 p.m. Now, listen, everybody watching out here, I've watched a lot of these for everyone. This is actually behind the scenes. This will be Laura working with Seth, trying to get everything perfected before you see the show. It is absolutely amazing. How cool is that for you to be doing this Soundcheck for your fans?
I think it's a fun thing. I think it's a great idea. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Why don't we do this more often? Giving fans like an inside look as to the process and the day of, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, will I be completely camera ready by then? Because the sound check's at 5 and the show's not till 8. So to get to kind of, come with us and see the little less glamorous side, I think is really fun. I would have loved that as a, aspiring musical theater person growing up, getting to kind of see the show before the show.
No, because everybody goes to the theater. They're sitting in their excitement of an audience. The curtain is there. All of a sudden they say, ladies and gentlemen, Laura Osnes, but they don't know what goes on before at your sound checks and everything else. And that's what's really cool about this, that Seth does.
Exactly. And especially in this digital world, it's going to be a new experience for me. Like this whole sound check, it definitely is going to be, I feel like you might learn something if you come to that first sound check.
Performers watch these too. Trust me, they watch them and think, oh my gosh, I want to do what Laura does, or oh, I want to do what Kelly does.
Totally.
Now, there's also something very special with your concert. It's the contest that Seth has put together, which is the Seth Sing-Off Laura Osnes edition. Now, what will that be?
I actually only kind of just found out this was happening because it's mainly on TikTok and I'm not on TikTok yet. And so Seth played the accompaniment to In My Own Little Corner. And you can submit your video of yourself singing along for a chance to be featured in my concert, singing that song in your TikTok video with Seth. So you can be that one doing the concert and singing with Seth. So I think it's, again, such a great idea to get the fans involved and have people tune in on Sunday.
Well, these are really exciting because I've been watching a lot of these too. And for anybody who wants to do this, just go to the SethConcertSeries.com, click on contest. It gives you all the rules. I think it's like a 30 or 60-second video. It has to be brand new with Seth's accompanist on this. The hashtag has to be Seth Sing-Off Laura Edition. I think it's only the first 100 because hundreds of people send these in. And I guess you and Seth, I think, pick this. It's going to be amazing. And
I think
the
winner,
winner
it down, and then we'll help choose the final winner. I'm excited.
And the exciting thing about it was the winner wins one free ticket to the next 3 Seth concerts. And coming up is Santino Fontana,
Next
which is
week.
next week, of course, which is Laura's co-star from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. So that's really exciting. That's what's really cool about all these things. So, well, again, Laura Osnes will be live this coming Sunday night, February 14th, Valentine's Day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then a rebroadcast on Monday, February 15th at 3 p.m. And there's that special VIP Soundcheck ticket. I love to go to those at 5 p.m. on Sunday, Eastern Standard Time. The Seth Concert Series, of course, is produced by Mark Cortali. It is sponsored by BroadwayWorld and StreamYard. Tickets are available at Broadway World Events and at the SethConcertSeries.com. Now, I want to ask you, Laura, with Valentine's Day right around the corner, you've told me this story, but I don't know if a lot of other people know this story. Did you and Nate share your first kiss on stage?
We did indeed. So yes, the story I love to tell, and I'm trying to see if I can rope Nate into singing with me on Sunday. We'll see if that ends up happening or not. So Nate and I met doing a production of Aladdin in Minnesota, way back in 2005.
Yeah.
And we understudied Aladdin and Jasmine. And one day the leads collided on stage, like accident, like total collision. And he chipped a tooth and she was like bleeding. They had to stop the show and send them to the hospital. And Nate and I both went on together as Aladdin and Jasmine. We rode the magic carpet. Our first kiss was on stage. And then we started dating a few days later. We kind of had a thing for each other, but that like sealed the deal. And everyone in the cast knew. Everyone was like, when are you guys going to start dating? And I was kind of playing hard to get. I had gone through a breakup like a month before, so I wasn't like too eager to rush into something else, but I knew it was right. And he proposed on our 1-year anniversary, and exactly a year later. And now we've been married 14 years in May. Will be our 14-year wedding anniversary.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. 14 years and you met on a flying carpet in costumes that didn't even fit, right?
Totally. We because it's regional theater, so understudies don't get their own costumes. So I was getting in her dress and it had like a blood stain on it. Maybe this is TMI.
But it's got to be so great though, because talk about kismet. It was like both of them got hurt during the same show and they were like, you two are on.
Yeah, it never happens where both lead understudies are on. On Broadway, it's like one of you has to be there. I mean, unless there's some sort of dire emergency, but they never let people vacation, so that both leads are both out. So it was, again, it didn't happen again. The actors were back that night. It happened to be a matinee and they both went to the hospital and she got stitches and they came back that night and did the show again. So we literally got that one chance, but it was all we needed. It was enough.
Because I've seen a picture of the two of you backstage in those costumes. Anybody, just Google Laura Osnes and Nate Johnson. I have the best time Googling you, just so you know. If I ever need a really great pickup, I love to follow you on Instagram because your posts are just so positive. You know that I'm Mr. Positive too. I mean, my glass is always half full. But on those days when you need a little pick-me-up, I'm like, let me go to Laura's Instagram. Because you always put something really fabulous. And I'm like, oh, I should be thinking about that like 24/7. I should just, it just switches that switch.
Thank you. Yeah, I think especially in this like world that we're in, and things are very kind of polarizing right now. I'm just choosing to stay positive and put content out there that makes people smile. You're absolutely right.
That's the best way to do. I wake up every day and say, oh my God, I'm interviewing Laura at noon, get my Ethernet hooked up, teachers and mentors never get enough credit. Was there someone early on when you were starting out that you were like, oh my gosh, this person really set me on my path?
Absolutely. My high school theater director, his name is Dennis Swanson. He has passed away. But he was the one who I worked a lot with him as a young student. I was like the elementary school kid in the high school shows. That was like when they needed Amaryllis and the Music Man. I got to do that at the high school. So I've known him. We did probably 12 shows together throughout my youth and my high school career. And he always, he just saw the thing in me. Like, I have a card from him from our opening night of like Peter Pan in high school. I got to play Peter Pan. And he like wrote at the bottom of it that was like, "See you on Broadway, kid." You know, and you're just like, it's people like that who just instilled the dream and always believed. And he was just such a brilliant visionary director. And then also, my friend Matthew Howe, he actually directed the show where Nate and I met, Aladdin, and was a little bit of a matchmaker for us in that process. And so not only does he have that kind of, you know, heart connection, but he is, again, just one of the most incredible directors I've ever worked with. I remember I did The Wizard of Oz, speaking of, with him my senior year of high school. And he worked at the Children's Theater Company in Minneapolis, which is like a Tony Award winning regional theater. Yeah. And I remember for like rehearsal for the Scarecrow scene one day, we like went across the street to like this park courtyard and like did the scene outside in the fall. And like with the actor who was playing the Scarecrow, and there were like squirrels running around. And I was like, what a fun, like he was so good with kids, especially. At like instilling, you know, these experiences. We did the Wicked Witch scene in like the basement of like our haunted rehearsal space. Just like he helped like give us those experiences that we could then bring on the stage because we had been there and we had, you know, done that. And he just was very creative like that. And I loved him. And we're still dear friends. He now lives in Victoria, BC, with his parents are there. So he's not even in the US anymore. But the couple times I've worked in Vancouver, for the Hallmark stuff, I visited him and we still keep in touch. He's the best.
I love it. He gave you a backstory. That's so great. It put you into these scenes that when you were then on stage, you were like, oh my gosh, I feel the dungeon, or I feel the field across the street when I meet the Scarecrow.
100%. It was just brilliant. It doesn't seem like it should be like that hard, but it seemed revolutionary. Like I've never had any other director really like do something like that. And as a young person, it's very impactful for me.
You know, you've gotten to teach. One of the many positives during this pandemic is you've had the opportunity to teach and mentor. How rewarding is that for you?
It has been so surprisingly fulfilling. I teach, I taught a little bit before this, but now I have probably like 1 to 3 classes a day with various students or groups, or, you know, maybe one-on-ones, helping students prep for their college auditions in the midst of this like weird virtual time. And it has been really, really special. It has given me a total purpose. I've gotten very kind of connected to some of my students, and it's so rewarding to see them grow and to help kind of hold their hand through this journey of establishing themselves during this time. And it's been very, very.
I think we lost Laura for a second. I think.
Oh
no! No, are you back?
Yeah. Did you lose me?
No, just for a second. You had a beautiful smile on your face. No, it's all good. Listen, I used to do mine on my phone. You know, we want to go back to R&H Ghost Pop Series. It's such a beautiful series. The videos are all like top of the line, because this one I'm getting into sort of your leading men. You have worked with some of the most incredible leading men, and most of them, or all of them, have done the R&H series. What has hosting the R&H Pop Series meant to you during this whole pandemic?
Yeah, I've been so honored to kind of be the face of this project and to help kind of launch the whole campaign. We launched it at BroadwayCon. Yeah. I think, was it 3 years ago now? I think it's 3 years ago. And when the whole pandemic started, we were like, we got to do this from home. We got to continue to put content in and do like acoustic versions of the pop songs that we were creating. And there's been so many new ones that have come out. And then, you know, we've also recreated acoustic versions of the ones that had came out before this. And it has, again, it's given me a purpose, something to get to do during this time, an opportunity to check in with friends and people I love in the community, getting to host in that way. And then also be inspired by people's creativity still, the reimagining of these classic songs. And I think that so many beautiful tunes have come out of it. We're hoping to be able to make those songs available on like some sort of album in the future, because a lot of them have been professionally recorded, and the ones that were created in quarantine, I think, have a goal to be professionally recorded at some point. So we'd love to kind of compile. That's the next goal. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that those songs will get to be available for purchase, because there's some brilliant ones. So brilliant.
Oh, we're going to talk about some of them. You know, I watched them all. You and Jeremy Jordan recorded and made the gorgeous rooftop video mashup of 10 minutes ago and the next 10 minutes. What did you call the mashup?
It's like the next 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
We just like put it together.
How incredible was that? Did you do that on top of Nate's studio?
We did indeed. Nate shot it, and we did two takes. That's it, because we had one camera, so we had one that was on him, one that was on me, and then like one that spun. We had that spinning one. So it was fast and furious because the sun was setting, so we couldn't let the light change too much. But I've wanted to record that song forever. We initially built it for a Broadway Princess Party concert, and I've sung. Actually, no, we did it. Oh my gosh, I'm vaguely remembering this. Jeremy had a concert at 54 Below. It was a solo show. And we premiered it for that and then brought it back. I was a guest in his show, and then we brought it back for Princess Party, and then, you know, got to finally make the music video like years after we had, you know, sung it in concert, and then record it for this R&H thing. So again, so special. We went into a studio and spent whatever, 2-3 hours laying down the track, and then getting to make the video. So I love Jeremy. He's my favorite person to sing with. I love his voice so much. And I think it's just, that's so special to have. I'm super grateful.
Yeah, because you did his concert. I know I saw you at the Carlisle when he was your guest star. I was so happy. I was there. I was like, yeah, I have to go see her and Jeremy. I was so happy for that. What is it like sharing the stage with Jeremy Jordan?
Oh, he's dreamy. It's fantastic. I was so thrilled when he came on board with Bonnie and Clyde. We did Bonnie and Clyde at La Jolla with Stark Sands, who is also brilliant. But he booked American Idiot when Bonnie and Clyde was going out of town again. So we were seeking a new Clyde, and Jeremy walked in the room, and I got to be there at the final callbacks for the final 3 Clydes. And he walked in the room and sang, and I was like, it's him. Like it has to be. It was unanimous. And I was thrilled to get to work with him. We kind of had just an immediate ease and chemistry. And it was fun being out of town together with that whole cast. Our birthdays are a day apart. So we got to celebrate our birthdays together at Oslo. And opening night was November 19th, was my birthday. So the show opened on opening night on my birthday, and then his birthday's the 20th. So at midnight on our opening night, like everybody's saying happy birthday for us. And like, I don't know, it just, again, talk about kismet. It was just kind of like this, especially for the nature of that show, kind of this like match made in heaven. And we've been good friends ever since. We check in. We actually have a weekly Zoom with Jeremy and Ben Rauhala, our music director, and like Chris Rodriguez and Kara Lindsay and some other friends of ours. We have a weekly Zoom check-in. I think we're on like week 45 or something.
Good for you, because I had both Jeremy and Ashley have visited me twice early on in the pandemic, and then he was here just 2 weeks ago when he and Ashley did Seth's. I mean, talk about a brilliant concert. I'm like, and they have their baby, and I'm like, you know. They were like, I don't know if we're going to do our sound check in between her naps or whatever else, but I love them as much as you do. They are just the best.
And I knew Ashley before I knew Jeremy, as we know. Ashley was, you know, a contestant with me on the Grease reality show. So when I found out they were dating, I was like, oh, is this going to be like weird? And it wasn't ever. Ashley was amazing. And, you know, it was great.
Because going back to Grease for a second, when you were all on that show, reality shows are so bizarre. Because I've had the chance of being with someone on Idol for a little while. It is the most bizarre world. I don't know how you did it, but were you all living in the same mansion together? Were you all in the same house?
Yes. I think I was like blissfully naive. Like all of us were like 21 and we didn't know better. Like we were all just, you know, excited to be there and just willing to put ourselves out there and do it. But yeah, all the contestants lived in a mansion together in Bel Air. And they took us to rehearsals in like 2 passenger vans. And we like weren't allowed, we could only grocery shop like 1 day a week, like, and like stock up. And they did give us per diem for like lunches and stuff, but like, it was weird. It was so crazy weird. Like, I'm really glad I did it. And, you know, I made some lifelong friends through that experience, but it was also like, very weird. And I grew a lot, but then there are also things that I'm like, I don't think I would ever do that again. You know?
No, but you and I had this conversation before. You auditioned for millions and millions and millions of people each week. So you and I had this conversation. I was like, you could walk into any room and be like, I've auditioned for millions of people who I have no idea. They were going to vote for me.
Right. It was a giant televised audition process. And some people were like, oh my gosh, you didn't have to work hard to get where you were. And I was like, I had to work hard in a different way. Like, yes, it happened quickly because it was 3 weeks on national television. And some people are in New York 3 years before they, you know, maybe book something or make a final callback. Or so in that way, yes, that was a gift. And I acknowledge that. I realized that. And I knew I wanted to use that momentum of having been on TV to help launch a future career, because I've always wanted to do this since I was 5 years old. But there was a lot of stress and pressure that came with being in that position. And again, we were all babies. We had no idea what we were doing. And it was scarring for some of us. And I'm lucky that I got to win and I got the prize. But a lot of, you know, a lot of people were also very kind of, I don't know, like, scarred by that experience, because it was weird. It was very, especially back then. Like, I'm so grateful. It was actually before the age of social media. And I feel like now social media would like rip people apart. I was grateful that it was before that.
No, it's really tough though, but it's just like you did such a beautiful job. In theater years, like you said, that would have been like 6 years. Seriously. I mean, you know, I'm like, it wasn't 3 weeks. It was like 6 years worth of whatever piled on your shoulders. But Ashley, everybody came out of that. I mean, there were so many incredible people that came out of it.
Rockwell?
Yeah, I know, totally.
I know.
Well,
and Max, obviously. Yeah, exactly. It was really cool again. And like, for the most part, we got along surprisingly well, considering the stress and the situation we were all under. I still keep in touch with a lot of those folks, for sure.
I don't know how you did it, but you did it. And like I said, look where everybody is now. You know, you've also been quarantined. You and Nate have been quarantined with two of your best friends for a long time of this, Kelly Barrett, and of course, her husband, Jared Spector. I mean, they came for the weekend and stayed for what?
108 days. So yeah, they were there from like March to like May.
I love that. It's like, oh, just stay for the weekend. It's like, oh, here we are. Like, you know, but you did a beautiful version. The three of you did a gorgeous version of Edelweiss and The Sound of Music that Jared played on the guitar. I mean, but you had like a small window to put that together, didn't you?
Yeah, we had 3 days. In fact, that was for the R&H Goes Pop thing. Yeah. And we had someone back out, actually. And so like, it was like last minute. Either they were sick, they couldn't perform, they had to be delayed a week or something. And the R&H folks were like, Laura, can you put something together? And I was like, wait, I'm in a house with Jared and Kelly. And Jared is like, he plays piano, plays guitar. Like, he's the most musical, you know, genius friend I have. And so we literally in like 48 hours, like, came up with our own arrangement. We recorded it so we could listen to it and like practice it on our own before the live performance. So yeah, we made use of having each other in the house, for sure. And Jared actually brought back his guitar. We went back to New York, I think right before then, because knowing he was going to stay for a while, we stopped back in New York, and they brought back up their keyboard and guitar, which definitely came in handy.
Because I know the night before, Nate had made a big dinner or something. Right? Didn't he make a big dinner? And you were like, you had to be like ready to have that dinner before you could do anything else. There were like no rehearsals, right?
Yes, absolutely. Nate has become, I mean, he already kind of was a chef before this, but he has become like a full-on chef during quarantine. And in the new year here in 2021, we were like, okay, we need to like lighten up a little bit. Let's have like a little bit smaller meals and try to like get back on a very healthy game plan page. So we've tried to be doing that a little bit better this year.
Because I think when you watched that video, it was like it was a meal that took the whole day to make.
There have been a couple that we've done. We've homemade pasta probably 5 or 6 times. We homemade pizza dough and then make the pizza. There's an amazing, I don't know if anybody has been to Carbone. It's this fabulous Italian restaurant in New York City. They're famous for their spicy rigatoni. And we have found a copycat recipe online, and the spicy rigatoni sauce takes like 2 hours to cook. And then there was one other like shallot pasta that we have made that requires like 15. And so it might have been that as well. We were like,
you have to put out you two of you have to put a cookbook out that, you know, it's for somebody, like for an auction or for something or for some organization.
Funny you should say that. Sorry, we had a technical glitch for a second.
No,
we actually started writing down our meals in quarantine and Nate took a lot of professional pictures with his great camera of some of our meals. And the idea hasn't been talked about much recently, but at the time we were like, we need to come up with like a quarantine cookbook. So thank you for reminding me of that. We might do that.
Oh, I want one of those. I love to cook, and I'm like, I would love to cook your recipes, but put it out there for like, for an auction or for one of your organizations that both of you stand for or whatever. Oh my gosh, that would be great. Now, one of my all-time favorites is you and Santino Fontana doing 10 minutes ago and a song from Allegro, which I totally forgot about, You Are Never Away. And
Yeah.
this is so beautiful. So I know, where did you film that? In your backyard?
I filmed that. There is a state park about a 9-minute drive from my place in Connecticut here. We're right by the woods, and I went and filmed it there. Yeah. And Santino is in Washington. We're on a total opposite coast.
But it's so beautifully thought out because it has the same look. And he's like, tossing that stone in the beginning, and he's got his new haircut or whatever. I'm like checking him out in this. I was like, when did you all shoot that?
I shot mine literally in August of last year. And he shot his in November. And he was like, he tried to shoot it like 3 times. And he was like, you guys, I'm so sorry, it's windy. And he had to keep delaying because the weather was not cooperating on days that he was able to shoot. And he also has a daughter, and napping and getting someone to help you film. It's like impossible. So he finally finished it in November. And then we like released it like a week later. I think I was around my birthday when we released it. And, that was so special. That arrangement, Ted Sperling introduced me to that arrangement. I sang it with him at the Carlisle with Ted Sperling in a Rodgers and Hammerstein concert that I did there with Ryan Silverman. And so I've always had that. I fell in love with that mashup. And I know every song I do now has 10 minutes ago in it because I did that with Jeremy and now I'm doing it with Santino.
It should. Beautiful.
But Santino was my prince in Cinderella, so I feel like it makes so much sense. And we recorded it audio. We recorded the audio like a year and a half ago. Like so that we had like the demo of it and then finally like made the video and got to release it and put it out into the world.
It is flawless, but it is just so great to see. They're all great. They're all these, because I watched them all week knowing that I was going to get you again here. I was like, oh my God. I'm like, and then you fall into a rabbit hole. I'm like, oh, there's more on here. I'm like, oh, let me watch that one. Oh my God. There's Santino. There's Jeremy. Now going back to your Instagram, you posted a gorgeous little backstage video of your final bow in Cinderella. I'm obsessed with this because Santino is like dancing in the wings, checking you out. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And this is, you put a beautiful Instagram post up saying, we're almost back. We're going to be coming back soon. What was that last performance of Cinderella like for you? Could you zone yourself into the performance? I mean, what was it like for you?
It was so emotional.
Yeah.
One of the most emotional closing nights I've ever gone through. Like that, and then Bandstand. There was also a moment in Bandstand that was unforgettable. But I feel like overall, the most emotional closing night I've ever done was Cinderella. I think because 5 of us were leaving together. Me, Santino, Harriet, Marla, and Greg, all left the same closing night together. And so there was just that energy of knowing that it was never going to happen again that same way. And it was such a special show. The cast was just so special. And I think what is so great about that closing night in particular is that I was vlogging for Broadway.com during the time. So I have like video clips backstage of that day. And I've been able to go back and relive that closing night because there's a whole like vlog episode about it. And that's, I think, what's helped it really stick in my memory about it being so special is because I've been able to relive it through that video kind of. I remember crying like the second I got to the theater because my dressing room was empty. And I was thinking like, I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be okay. But like the minute I got there, I was like, I'm not okay. And like Carly Rae Jepsen, who succeeded the role for me, sent me like a gigantic bouquet of flowers that was there in my dressing room. And it was just, we cried a whole lot. That closing performance.
Because anybody watching, just go to Instagram, look at this, because Santino is blowing you a kiss from the wings. You're blowing it back. Then he walks over and then the curtain goes up. I have goosebumps. I watched it like 20 times last night.
And then, he helps me down the stairs and it was just like a hug. And he was like, go on, you can do this, like giving me the courage. And I remember getting off stage and just like weeping, like it's really over. And Victoria Clark gave the most beautiful closing night speech for us, and like it was just it was like heartbreaking,
because
but
this is
so
what we miss.
beautiful.
This is what we miss about live theater.
Right.
This is what I miss. I've been there for so many of these with all of you, and I love, like, someone's like, oh, we'll bring you into the house at the end to shoot it, to make a video of this stuff at the end, and you just get caught up in the excitement, and it never goes away. The electricity of live theater. That's why I cannot wait for that first night. I want to be at everyone's opening. That first night for everything, because I just can't. I'll be in tears. I mean, I just know I'll be like
Completely.
of tears.
I don't know if you remember, Rob McClure posted something a few months ago now about like the first time like we hear the downbeat of the orchestra playing an overture when theater is back, and how emotional everyone's going to be. But I completely agree. You can't quite replace the electricity of being in the room, and the theater community is such a family that it's like that's what we miss. Like, yes, it was sad saying goodbye to the work in that role and doing the show, but the majority of it for me is those people become your family. You spend a year and a half, you go through weddings and babies and deaths in the families, or seeing each other through some birthdays and life events that happen, because you see each other every day. They're your second family, and the theater is your second home. And when you know it's going to end and that chapter is going to close, it's so heartbreaking. I cried in high school when we had 3 performances. Imagine Cinderella. I did 412 performances of Cinderella, and and plus 2 or 3 years of development sometimes with a cast before a Broadway run. And it's so beautiful and so heartbreaking and so special, irreplaceable.
It's just so great to see from that angle, because last year I made my Broadway debut in Mean Girls.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is being backstage, being on stage. The cast is crazy. They're so wonderful, this family, because everybody does groups of things they do right before that curtain goes up. And I had to open the show, but I was so like in my zone or whatever. But half of them are dancing up there and doing this thing, and they're all like, Brooks, everyone's just doing this crazy stuff into here, and the curtain goes up, and they just go into their positions. It's so interesting. So it was so great over this pandemic to watch, like, all these people from backstage of what they do right before they go on. They made these little videos, and then they just, they would do this different steps they would do to the music, but then they get right into their position when the curtain goes up.
Yes.
It's their other family,
Totally. All those inside jokes. You have to keep it fun and spicy, because you're doing the same thing over and over. So like, what are the little things you're going to do backstage to entertain you and keep you smiling and laughing?
But how you control the focus so quickly. For 10 minutes, they can just do everything. And then they're like, here we are. I'm Dee Dee Ryan or whatever. It's so crazy. Okay, we have to mention that Santino is going to be here next week with Seth Rudetsky on Sunday, February 21st at 8 p.m. as part of the Seth Concert Series. And I hope I get to talk to him next week. I know he's a new baby girl and everything else, right?
He does, baby Grace. She's got to be like over a year now.
Oh, it's so crazy. They were way over a year now with all of this. Now we have to talk about the Kotzwinkle Brothers, because I'm obsessed with them as you are. Of course, Corey and Casey. I've known them since they first arrived in New York. I've had many dinners with Casey and spent lots of time with Corey or whatever. Did you finally get to see them?
Yes, they came for New Year's, and we got to spend New Year's with Corey and his wife Meg, and Casey and his new fiance Nicola. We have been meaning to see each other since this pandemic, and New Year's kind of worked out. Casey was in town from Vancouver because he's shooting Riverdale there, and so they drove up from Philly, where their families are, and we got to ring in the new year together, which was so special. And Corey and Meg brought the kids, so we had little boys running around this house, and it was really, really fun and just so good for my spirit.
Because there's a picture of you, like you said, and I thought to myself, it's so great how everyone has been quarantining themselves, saying, we're going to quarantine beforehand. This is our goal for the next month. That's all we're going to do, so we can see somebody we want to see, but you do it in the right way. And I think that's really, really exciting. But that picture of all of you, and Nate's got the dog, and I'm just looking at this stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, the Kotzwinkle family is there. What was it like? Bandstand, is one of my all-time favorite musicals. We lived at that theater. I just called the press. They say, please, can I come back again? They're like, yes, come back again. I was obsessed with that show. What was it like sharing the stage with Corey?
I had known Corey since he replaced Jeremy in
Yeah.
Newsies. I was like an honorary newsie because Bonnie and Clyde closed
Yeah.
unexpectedly and Jeremy jumped right into Newsies. And I feel like I needed to like, in an effort to like hold on to Bonnie and Clyde, I like became an honorary newsie. And I saw that show so often. And so I was introduced to Corey way back then. And always like wanted to come. I was like, yeah, he'd be a fun person to work with, but we became friends
Yeah.
through that process. And for years before we ever got to do Bandstand together, which was, I mean, just so great. When Andy Blankenbuehler was like, what about Corey? We were trying to talk about, you know, leads for that show. Jeremy and I had actually done a Bandstand reading together like years before. And then that's also where I met Jared Spector, because Jared did one of the labs. And so Jared and I totally hit it off and became friends, but we knew like, Andy was like, the energy's not quite right. Like, we've got to find, you know, the person who's going to be opposite you. And he was like, how about Corey? And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I've known Corey for a long time. We're good friends. He's amazing. And so I got to be also at Corey's like audition. And they basically like only kind of saw, maybe this is too much information. Again, I'm sharing very behind the scenes.
It's only for the thousands and thousands of people that are watching around the world. It's all good.
But they basically had like a work session with Corey, and he was brilliant. And again, like you knew, you walked in the room and you were like, yes, it's him. And Corey is just the most hardworking, smart. He's so smart and he's so creative and he likes to like dig deep and like make something the best that it can possibly be. And he did that with Bandstand. And he put in the work of like studying piano 3 hours a day so that he could play live on stage. Like, he was so devoted to this character. His heart was so in it. And with like the whole like veteran aspect of the story and the truth behind that. And he was an amazing leader of that company. And we all were just like, I will follow you anywhere. And it was so great to just have that level of friendship trust with him from years prior, especially in a show like Bandstand, where we could just meet each other on stage every day, wherever we were, and know that it was going to be truthful and trustful. And that's rare. That's a rare gift.
And I just love it. The phone, we were there. I think I saw you all backstage one of those times when the babies were almost due or whatever. It was like, they were waiting for the call from the hospital.
Guys, Meg was 9 months pregnant on opening night, and they gave birth. I think opening was on a Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
And then they induced on Sunday night so that she could have the baby on Monday, the day off. And then Corey was back to work on Tuesday. And we recorded the cast album that same weekend. So like between going to the hospital, like Corey was in the recording studio recording the album. He superhero. It was amazing. Yeah.
I remember that time because his dad was on was on stage, but it was like waiting for the call. We're doing a cast recording. It's like, it's crazy what you theater people will do is like have your baby on our day off. It's like, it's wild.
We were all just praying it wouldn't happen on opening night. We started to come up with a backup plan as to like, is the understudy ready to go on? And it was remarkable.
Theater always works out the way it needs to work out.
Indeed.
Now we're almost out of time, but I have to talk to you about the Princess Posse. We have to talk about the Broadway Princess Party, because the last time I had you ladies here, before my Ethernet, you all had your holiday ears on and your sweaters and everything else. You posted a fabulous picture, all of these glitter gowns in Susan Egan's basement.
Yes.
That shoot is amazing. I mean, look at you four. But what is it like working with Courtney Reed and Susan Egan, and of course all the other girls that join you? But the three of you, what is that like?
Thank you. It's really fun. You know, we've developed this Broadway Princess Party concert brand over the last 5 years. And we just brought on Aisha Jackson, which we are absolutely thrilled about. So she's, you know, sparkling starlet with us in that photo. It's just been so special to get to work with these like OG Broadway princesses and get to kind of develop this thing. We've traveled together. We have late night hotel kikis, you know, when we're able to be traveling and singing together. We're about to do a concert in Manassas, Virginia, actually in March. And so we're getting ready to, again, quarantine for that and get ourselves tested so we can be together to perform there. And then we're going to rehearse the following week for another exciting concert partnership that we're about to launch this spring. So stay tuned with that. But it's just, again, just been so special to get to kind of share that whole experience with my Broadway princess sisters. We have a lot of fun together. And
You
Ben
have
Rauhla, our music director. I can't talk about the Princess Posse and that without talking about Ben, who created the whole thing with me from the beginning and has just been our guiding light and trusted music director and fairy through the
So
whole
I adore Ben as everybody else does. I've been following Ben all through this pandemic, through the pandemic. I mean, just the greatest guy. He works with all of you. He's so talented in what he does. You have to do a documentary behind the scenes with the Broadway princesses. That would be hilarious. You, Courtney, Susan, Aisha, and your guest stars. That would be hilarious, of having you all on a bus or on a plane or in a dressing room. I mean, that would be the craziest thing to watch. Just remember that.
Good to know. We have talked about that. I think the logistics of that have gotten in the way of actually making it happen. But I can't tell you how many times we have talked about that and how many times people have mentioned that. So we will make that happen.
You need to. Well, one of my final questions is, what have you learned the most about yourself during this pandemic?
Oh my gosh, we're getting deep. Are we getting deep here? Surprisingly, and I don't even want to say this because I know we love Broadway and we miss Broadway, and that is my life and has been my identity for so long. But in a weird way, I have also realized that there is a life beyond that. I hate to even say that because everyone watching, it's like, obviously theater and live music is what makes my blood flow in the morning. Like, it's like, oh, like that's what I wake up for. But in this time of having to be without it, we have to focus on who we are outside of that, and that there is more to life, and there are more things that can fulfill, and just beginning to really appreciate the small things and be grateful for what we do have in this time. And relationships, who are your actual people, who are the people who are going to see you through and stand by you through this dark season of not getting to do what we love. We're all figuring it out together, and I feel like I've grown a lot in that way of realizing who you really are and what's really important, when you don't have what you do at the forefront of everything. It's really
Beautifully put. No, I think that's what I think so many people have reconnected, especially with relationships, because you've been, like I said, you celebrate your 14th wedding anniversary this May. Wes and I are 43 years. We're 43 years together.
Oh my gosh, congratulations, Richard. That's incredible.
I mean, and Preston has only been out like 4 times. I love spending every day. I cook all the meals. We watch movies at night. I prep. It's like, people are like, are you bored? I'm like, not at all. I'm like, we love being together. But it's like, because I was always on a carpet or doing something, but it was like, I've loved this year. I mean, it's been horrible with what's happening, but I found the joy in all of it. And we just love being together, like you two, and friends that have been living with you, and you cook and you connect heart to heart with people that, you get through it somehow.
True colors really come out. And I agree. Like, Nate and I have never been closer. I'm like, in fact, I have a little bit of separation anxiety when when we were in Florida. He came with me to Florida, but then I had to rush home for the dog, and Nate had to stay. And I was like, oh no, I have to get on a flight by myself now and be without him for 3 days. What am I going to do? And it was like, we've just gotten so used to being together and having each other and finding other things that can bring us such joy. You're absolutely right.
I love that. Well, again, Laura Osnes will be live this coming Sunday night, February 14th, Valentine's Day at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then a rebroadcast on Monday, February 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And there's that very special VIP Soundcheck. They are amazing, which takes place on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, there's the contest. Go to the SethConcertSeries.com. Check that out. The Seth Concert Series is produced by Mark Cortali. It is sponsored by BroadwayWorld and StreamYard. And tickets are available at BroadwayWorld events. And of course, at the Seth Concerts. And just Google Laura and everything else. They all come up. Laura, I love catching up with you. This flew by so fast.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, you can hear. Oh.
But we're done.
I love you. Be good, everybody.
Love you. Thank